Okay, so this is the Panther video where we complete the suspension. So the first step you want to do is you want to take some straight glue and just liberally sort of fill the holes all along. But I would do one side at a time. So this is when it helps to really be doing more than one vehicle. Although you could go work on the turret or something like that while you wait for this to dry. I like to do one side and then let it dry and then do the other side, just so that when you let it dry, it's sitting like this rather than like this, where all the glue will run to one side or to the top. So once you've got all of the holes with some glue in them like this, and don't be afraid to really push it into those buttonholes. We're just trying to fill those right now. And don't worry about getting too much glue on there, because we're going to take a damp brush. We're just going to wipe away all the excess. And don't worry too much if you pop some of these buttonholes, because we're just trying to sort of get them into position where they will accept glue on a more permanent basis to fill them up. So I leave this to dry like this. Wait till that's done and then do the other side. You really want to make sure that you, where these buttons touch, you don't want a whole lot of glue building up there. So that's really where you want to remove it. Because you're going to be doing that step a few times, and it can create a undesirable effect between the buttons where they look like they're kind of one piece. And you don't want that. So this one has already had that done to it. And I'm just going to cover the next step on this vehicle. These are like small gemstones or bling, and they come on an adhesive strip, and it's a lot easier rather than cutting them apart to just pull them right off the adhesive strip like so. And if you try to cut them apart, the adhesive on the back, it kind of pokes out over each end a little bit, and it's a lot harder to remove after they've been cut apart. So this is just the best option. So you have a nice part, and they're easier to work with. They don't stick to the table as bad when the adhesive's removed. I mean, they do a little bit still, because the back of the gems is a little bit sticky still, but it's not as bad. So once you've got a few of those ready to go, you can use 4-to-1 glue for this. It's a little safer. I'm just going to be carefully using full strength glue, but you want to make sure that you don't let it blob up, because you're not going to be able to use the watering trick after you're done. So you might want to have a round toothpick or a bamboo skewer handy to just adjust the location of each of these as they go onto the center of the buttons. And actually, once these are in place, it helps you with the filling the buttonholes completely so that they're not visible anymore. So even though they're still going to be slightly visible after this step, once you put another layer of even watery glue when you're doing the rest of the model, you'll end up doing the wheels again. And then paint, these buttonholes should essentially vanish. I think mostly what the gem does is keep the bubbles from popping, sort of thing, that are filling the holes. They'll stick to the underside of the gemstone and sort of allows the glue to set in a way that fills the holes a little bit better. It does make it quite a bit easier, I've noticed. And you'll also observe that I'm being really careful with how much glue I use and where it ends up with this step. Because again, you can't do the watery remove excess glue trick. Kind of stuck with what you get. You can do it on future gluings, but you can't do it now because you'll remove the gems. Once they're set, though, you're free to use those techniques again. And yeah, one on the front here as well. And be really careful and stingy about trying to get them centered, because if they don't look centered, they'll look odd later. And again, I would let the one side dry, because you can sort of put pressure on one of the gems when the second side is drying, and you don't want them to sort of fall down by setting it right side up. So this is kind of a slow, step-by-step process, but each of the individual steps doesn't take that long. Alright, and then your suspension is essentially done.